So, welcome back to episode 2. Episode 2 of Training Our Children to Be Adults, where we'll be using real-world, hands-on training to develop the skills and capabilities mentally for our children to become mature, successful adults. I'm Justin with Reform Custom Builds, and today we're going to pick up where we left off last time. And if you missed last time was about tape measures. We took the children through learning how to read a tape measure, looking at sixteenths and quarters, and just sort of putting all that together. And today we're going to be focusing on squares. But before we jump into that, I want you to know that at the end of this video, near the end, I'm going to use a code word. And you have to pay attention to the very end closely to catch that code word, which might have a little benefit. So pay attention, follow us to the end. Before we do jump into this, I think this might be an opportunity for us to give a little explanation of why we're doing this. What is the point of doing the Training Our Children episodes? Some people out there might watch one of these videos and ask, how in the world is this series, how in the world is the hands-on training with the tools going to develop our children or equip them to be mature adults? And that's a fair question. From your perspective, you see me showing my children what tools are and explaining to them how to use them. And let's face it, that may not be what your child grows up to do. They may not have those tools in their profession. So what's the deal? Here it is in a nutshell. Learning to work with tools, how to build things, how to fix things, is way more than just banging around, playing, and fixing for children. If taught correctly, they'll learn hand-eye coordination. They'll learn math. They'll learn reading. They will learn problem solving, patience, and so much more. They will be preparing themselves for issues that might arise later in life. Let's say your child grows up and gets married and has a child of his or her own. The education that they are picking up here is preparing them not only for raising their own child, it'll prepare them to fix things that may get broken or destroyed during the time frame. And let's face it, we've all seen things destroyed with us and our children, right? It may prepare them for the one day that maybe they want to make a, let's say, princess bunk bed for their daughters. Or maybe they want to do a remodel on a room in a house. Or maybe they want to build a house from the bottom to the top. It is preparing them for these real world situations. Our world and economy are ran by numbers, figures, equations, and communication, all of which we as parents are to be preparing our children for, and what I hope to be doing in this class. As always, if you have a comment, good, bad, or indifferent, leave it down below. Feel free. I'm good with that. At the end of this video, I will put a link to the previous video in this series in case you missed it. I almost forgot. These videos are not only designed for children. There might just be something in these videos that you didn't know. I do hope that it turns out to be helpful for you. Now let's jump in. All right, so squares. Let's jump into squares. Let's do some education here. And the first thing we're going to say is, what is a square? What do they do? And why would I need a square? First of all, there are many different types of squares out there. We're only going to be looking at 4 today. We're going to look at the speed square. Okay, we are going to be looking at the TriSquare. Everybody see a TriSquare? Okay. We're going to be looking at the framing square. Okay.
Combination square.
And the combination square. So, there are some obvious things about squares. The number one obvious thing about a square is that it is not a
Square.
It's not a square. So why don't we call them a triangle or an L? That's right, because there is a very specific right angle or 90-degree angle that is distinctive to all squares. So the first obvious thing was that they're not actually in the shape of a square. How many 90-degree angles does it take to make a square? 4. 90, 90, 90, and 90 gives us an actual square, right? How many 45-degree angles does it take to make a square? 8. How many 45-degree angles does it take to make a 90-degree angle? 2. Beautiful. That being said, let's talk about the first square on our list, and that is the speed square. A speed square is a square designed specifically with carpenters and roofers in mind. But speed squares are extremely handy. Let's go ahead and hand Landon the speed square for a second. But speed squares are extremely handy. Don't do anything yet, Landon, but we're going to go through this. They're extremely handy for many, many different applications. Many different shops, no matter what they do, use speed squares. They're very accessible. You can pick them up at just about any big box store like Home Depot or Lowe's, any woodworking store. You're going to find a speed square. But why are they so handy? Number one, no, not because they're popular, but number one, because we can immediately set it up on a board here, Landon, and show us a 90-degree angle. Perfect. So with great ease, we can take our speed square, put it up there, immediately slide it to wherever our spot is, make our 90-degree mark, come back, cut it, and go. A speed square is very speedy, yes? Now, if I said, Sebastian, do me a favor, show me, or sorry, not show me, but let's cut that board to a 45-degree angle. So he's going to slide it up there. Let's do that. So let's come over here, show them what Sebastian just did. Sebastian took a square, put it on there, slides it up, and he makes his 45-degree angle on the opposite side of a speed square, because you have two sides for actually marking on a speed square. One is immediately your 90-degree angle, right? The second one is immediately your 45-degree angle here. You see it? So 45 is half of your 90. If I had two of those put together, guess what I got?
90.
A 90, that's right. Another handy thing about a speed square, Logan, maybe you can help me with this, okay? Speed squares have these handy dandy little grooves and notches. Now this one's larger. It gives me all the way out to 9 inches. So I got these handy dandy little notches that it shows me. Each one has a marking on it. See the indentation up here and down here. On Logan's, it has the same indentions on his, just smaller, and he is going to use that to scribe us a line all the way down his board at the 1-inch mark. And the 1-inch mark on his is the very first mark. So he's going to grab his pencil and scribe us a mark all the way down. Can you do that for us, Logan? Let's scoot right over here so that everyone else can see as we do it. And Landon's helping out by holding the board steady. Perfect. Oh, that's good enough. Let's do that. Stop. Pull up. Let's show them what you did. So now what Logan has done here is scribed us a mark that's exactly 1 inch from this side. And how he did that, he slid on his speed square, and all he did was slid it up the board, keeping it flush against the side, and gave us a perfectly parallel 1-inch line from the side. And whenever we're trying to do something like shelves or trim work, those are great scribing tools for a speed square. I told y'all from the word go that a speed square has a specific design to it for carpenters and roofers. That's right. So why do we say that? Because you have this little section on here on the common scale, which is going to be your bottom right underneath the little hole. Common scale, which will read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 13, so on yours. And then you have the hip valley scale, which is the top one, reading at 30, 24, 20, 17, 14, 12, 10, 8, and 7. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the hip valley scale, but I will show you the common scale real fast. A common scale is for figuring out rafters. Thank you for the pencil, Landon. And if I take and say, hey, here's my cut point, that's where my rafter is going to end, and I need that rafter to be on a 712 roof, then I'm going to stop it right there where it says 7, where the outside of my board matches up with 7, and I'm going to make my cut line here, put an X on it so that we know that that's the one that's going to be cut out. And then if we cut this board here, this will line up for us to give us a roof pitch of every 12 inches of roof, you drop or rise, depending on if you're coming from the bottom, you drop or rise 7 inches. If you took a 2-foot step, you would be 14 inches higher in the sky. Or 14 inches closer to the ground if you were coming from the top of the roof, huh? Isn't that cool? So if you ever hear somebody say, hey, what's the pitch of your roof? Which I don't really hear people yelling out, but if someone said, what's the pitch of your roof? And you said, it's 612. That means for every 12 inches of rafter, you're dropping 6 inches or raising 6 inches. That's right. So keep that in mind. This is an absolutely handy scenario. Now let's say that somebody wanted that 712 roof that we just did over here, right? I believe we had it like this. We put our thing over here and we line that back up to where that we are on a 712. Now come over here and pay attention. I'm going to show you something. But let's say that person is cutting these cuts on a miter saw and they want their miter saw set up to cut those cuts. If I put that back on there, this line over here is degrees. We are almost a perfect 30-degree angle, aren't we? So we could go over to our miter saw, set up our miter saw at 30 degrees and go through and cut every one of those rafters, and every one of them are going to be set at a 712 pitch. On a speed square, there's always a section up here in the corner where this meets that says pivot. So you know where to pivot from every single time. Going from the pivot point into the degrees. Another great and handy thing about a speed square is, let's say you need a cut that is 110 degrees. How are you going to mark that? This only goes to 90 degrees. I'll show you. You ready? Let's get Sebastian over here, Mr. Drawer. Will you do me a favor? Will you make me a 90-degree mark? All right, so we got a 90-degree mark. Now I want to take that 90-degree mark of Sebastian's and I want to turn it into a 110 degree. Does anybody know what is 110 minus 90? What's 90 from 100? Okay, what's 10 more? All right, so we need to pivot on our point until we get to 20 degrees. Once we have pivoted on our point, would you do that for me, Landon? Now, with our broken lead, this mark right here that Landon just made, this mark right here, would be 110 degrees. So you would know where to cut to get to 110 degrees. That's enough about speed squares, because we're going to run ourselves smooth out of time on this episode if we continue on nothing but speed squares, and we still have 3 other squares to do, right? Whew! Okay, let's get into this and let's go to the TriSquare. The TriSquare. Everybody see the TriSquare?
Yes.
All right, so this is the tongue or the beam, what some people call the blade, and the handle is actually called the head. The sole plate is usually made out of some form of aluminum or brass or something to that nature. You can't make one out of wood, but it is a material that is easy to kind of keep square with the rest of your material. All right, so we have that. First thing we know about a TriSquare is it is a perfect 90-degree angle. That's right, and that's exactly what it is. But on a TriSquare, it's a 90 on the inside and the outside. So on this specific TriSquare, we have a marking that will show us a 45-degree angle if we were to place it on our stock like so. We could make a 45-degree angle, or we could slide up and do a 90-degree angle, just like that. But a TriSquare has been around for a long time. I know y'all aren't going to know this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Does anybody know when the first recorded quote-unquote TriSquare was found? In 1920, they found a TriSquare, or a version of a TriSquare, that was just like a piece of metal in the shape of an L like this, that was from the ancient Egyptian times. How cool is that, huh? But a TriSquare was designed to be able to quickly put up there and see whether or not your stock was square or not. All right, so you'd hold it firmly, no rocking, make sure that your material was square or not square, and then you would kind of know what to do from there. So see, like this cut here, absolutely not square, too much air coming through, but this one looks pretty good and no anything going through. So TriSquares were easy. They've been around for a really, really long time. Also, just a quick reference, I don't have one in my shop, but if you are doing really small stock like this, where it's really short, you can also use what is called an engineer square, which are usually engineered to be within 1/1000th of an inch, which is really, really solid. It means that you're going to be good. One more quick tip before we jump into anything else on the TriSquare. Landon, I'm going to show you a trick. Will you do me a favor and make a mark on your 90 there? There you go. Good mark. I want to be able to see it really, really well. All right. And so what we've done is Landon has made a mark right here, right? All right. So we have made our 90-degree mark. What we are going to do now is take our we're going to take our square, flip it over, line back up with the bottom of our 90, right there. And Landon, make us another really nice dark mark. Actually, here, use this. Use the pen so it's a really nice dark mark so we can see it in comparison to the pencil line. Good. All right. Let's pull up, keep this all together, and say, okay, what Landon has done is made his same mark on the 90-degree mark. Now ask me, say, why are we making two marks in the same place? Anybody? Why are we making two marks in the same place? Well, the answer is, if those lines line up perfectly without straying side to side, we have a true square line. That's another thing you can use on any of the squares. That is our TriSquare. This, on the other hand, is the framing square from Swanson. It is called the Framing Wizard. It has the ability to move, but things you need to know about a true framing square. Framing squares have parts as well, okay? And what you will notice on a framing square is if you are holding the narrow part in your right hand and the thick part in your left hand, let's do that again, in your right hand and your left hand, then you are holding it face up. And there will be information on the face of the tongue and the face of the body, which is what that's called, the tongue and the body, okay? Tongue is your narrow part, which is typically on a real framing square 1.5 inches. The framing's body is supposed to be 2 inches. You understand? 1.5 inch, 2 inches. It's designed that way so that whenever you pick it up, you can tell whether or not you're looking at the face up or if you are looking at it face down. Because each side carries different information. You will have things such as your pitch angles, hips and valleys. Your common pitch will be on the top of your body. Then if you flipped it over, you would have more information on there. You should have a section that takes you to 1/8 square scale inches so that you can measure in that direction. Once again, these are great squares, just not typical for furniture building or DIY type stuff inside of a small shop. This is more like, hey, if I wanted to go build a house, I need a square like this. This is going to give me so much information that can be used for building a house that it's unreal. But whenever I'm building a desk, probably not what I want, right? If I was building a chair, probably not what I want. If I were going to go build stairs, what would I want? This, yes. If I was going to go do roof rafters, I would probably want, both of those, right? Okay. These are handy squares. This, is a handy square. If I'm going to build a house, I want this square. If I'm going to go build a shed, I want this square. okay? I'll also want my speed square for getting the rest of my lumber ready to rock and roll and go.
The doghouse.
Do what?
What about the doghouse?
Or a doghouse? This would be great for a doghouse. I would probably tell you I wouldn't invest in this unless I was trying to be able to get to specific angles this way. It's just not, I don't even remember what, do what?
Tell you what angle you're at?
Not in this way, no. There are better tools for doing this. If you are going to be doing true house framing, shed framing, doghouse building, all of those kinds of things, my suggestion is spend the money, which is probably cheaper than this anyways, and get a real framing square, which will even have more information on it than even say this specific thing does. It has lots of great information for you to learn and grow and go with, but it is not the best information for that. Enough on a framing square. Let's go to the combination square. Combination squares. Keep this really easy, okay? This section here, this handle is what most people are going to grab and say, hey, get it by the handle. That is actually called an anvil. What's it called? Anvil. You know what this is called, this section? That's called the shoulder. So you have the anvil, this whole section here, the shoulder, the adjustable knob, which allows you to move your blade or metal rule in and out. And most of them will have a level vial there so that you can put it on something and sort of test small job levels. And the amazing things about a combination square, and probably the reason it is absolutely the #1 square in my shop and probably in a lot of shops around the world, is that it is so versatile. So we can, #1, take out the metal rule, right? That's a ruler, and it has inches and centimeters on it so that you can do both directions if you needed to. It also acts as a straight line if I needed one. It also will act as a flattening, not flattening, sorry. It acts as a gauge on the flatness of my material so that I can put it up there and say, okay, do I see any light in between there? Nope, pretty flat. There are better things out there for checking the flatness of things, but this is a quick little reference that you can use. Now, just taking the anvil in hand. The anvil itself,
Just like that? It's a level.
if I do that, I have my level. I can check the levelness of my projects. I can make sure that it's going to set on the wall right if I was doing like a picture frame or something. There are lots of things here, but other than just that, what do I have?
A right angle.
A right angle, right? So if I was putting another piece of stock up here and I needed to make sure that I was holding a 90 at that spot, that gives me a good right angle, right? So I can have a great right angle on my stock. Another one. This one's more fun.
45.
45. Now this won't go together right because it's not cut at a 45, but if I do that, we know that we are set at 45 degrees, right?
Yeah, it looks like an alligator.
Oh, an alligator mouth. That's a great one. So if we set up like so, we know that we've got a 45. Now we push our rule back in and it makes this even easier and a little bit sweeter. We put our rule back in. Let's put it about halfway for now. Tighten it back up. And we can immediately go over and guess what we can do? Make our 90-degree mark, right? We can make our quick and easy 90-degree mark. And also, what's the next one that we can do easy and fast? 45-degree mark, right? We can always jump into our 45-degree mark, make sure that those things are going to line up. Here is another great thing about a combination square. What if I need another piece of board that's cut just as thick as this one? I can make sure that my material is on a flat surface, push my rule down, hold firm, tighten my blade up, right? Make sure that I stay there. And I know that I have 3/4 inch stock. And now I can take this measurement on my depth, if I need to cut specifically that deep, and follow me over here for just a second, okay? So we're gonna take this measurement that we got here, and we're gonna transpose it on our table saw that is not plugged in. So we can come over here, find our mark, raise our blade up to touch, just kiss the bottom of our combination square. And now we know that we're going to cut our material to be exactly the depth that we need it to. But not only that, what else can we do with a combination square? If I need to know, is my blade at a true 90, I can raise it up, use this fancy thing right here, put it up against it, or on your side where you are, and make sure that I'm setting flat and flat with no light in between. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that my blade is set at a 90-degree angle. And if I needed to set it at a 45, which I'm not going to adjust right now, I could put it at a 45 using this tool. Same thing goes for drill bits. You could use the same thing on not only saw blades, not only on router bits, setting the depths and the heights of router bits, your drill press, your drill bits, setting up your bandsaw for specific depths of cuts. There are so many things that you can use the combination square that it really is no surprise that they have become like the most popular within the woodworking world. There are lots of other things that you can spend tons of money on, but realistically speaking, these are cheap. They usually come in standard sizes of 6-inch, 12-inch. Mine is actually a 16-inch, just because it was the first one I bought and I had no idea what sizes to get, so I just went with it. But you can get a few other ones. Some of them actually come with a protractor section where you can put it on there and move it side to side so you can get specific angles on it. They are absolutely amazing in what they can do. That being said, I hope y'all have learned something in regards to squares and how to operate with them. I hope that this helps you guys out a little bit, helps the audience out a little bit. I hope that something has been learned, and if it wasn't new to you or you already knew all of that, I hope maybe it was at least a refresher. Got it? That means reset. Okay. All right, that'll bring us to a close today. We've been over the speed square, the TriSquare, the framing square, and the combination square. Good job. Okay, so we've hit 4 different squares, 4 different things that you can use. Each one of these involves angles and math and degrees and lots of different things for us to learn from and to grow from. I know that we didn't go super in depth on every single one of these things because that would be an hour-long video on each and every square, and we're not going to do that. This is designed to drive you to have a thirst to learn more about things, right? All right, and that's what children need. They need to be taught the skills to, well, they need to be taught skills that drive them to want to learn more skills and to grow in maturity, right? Right. They need to be taught to want to do everything they do unto the glory of, including raising their own children in the future. Everything we do should be in our house to the glory of God. Do we succeed at that every day? Absolutely not. Do we fail miserably? Absolutely we do. Okay. But we're hoping that through this video process, which not only hopefully helps you guys out in the audience, but it's helping us to grow as well and to learn. That's the goal. We all want to continue to learn and grow. We want to send these guys out and you guys out to work hard, work smart, and make sure that what you're working for and you're learning in is profitable. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I gotta give y'all a code word. So the code word for this video, what do y'all think, guys? Y'all think the code word for this video should be a triangle? Yeah, That would be too easy. They would have had the code word at the beginning. So let's do code word triangle. Yeah? Code word triangle. Put the code word in the comments section below. And at the end of what we will call the season, we'll come up with a giveaway, right guys? We'll do a little giveaway, and whoever's been putting the comments down there and telling us what the code words are, we'll choose one at random and do a little giveaway. Does that sound good? But now listen to me, people out there in the YouTube world, you're gonna have to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell up there for notifications. And if you enjoyed the video, Sebastian says that you should like it. Hit that like button down there, smash that like button, right? Put it down there, smash that like button. And Landon says that you should probably consider sharing, right, Landon? Yes. We should share that video with the people that it might help. Listen, these videos are not only for us, they're not only for you guys, they are for everyone out there that you know that needs some help with learning how to grow, learning how to train children. That being said, we are at the end of this episode. We look forward to seeing y'all on the next episode, right guys?
Right.
Does anybody know what we'll be going over on the next episode?
Tape measures.
No, we already did tape measures.
Saws.
Let's see what we got next. Little, we should go over sawdust.
Yeah.
All right, we did tape measures, we did that. Oh boy. Next episode, saws. If you want to see saws, we're going to go over hand saws, and we will probably go ahead and introduce a few of the actual battery operated saws that we have. But for now, that's a wrap.
Bye.
Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Say see y'all next time.
Next time.